You know, this is exactly what we were talking about in our previous video, talking about the Senators and the Red Wings. This is an opportunity for Wings fans to go out there and educate themselves on the prospects. So what exactly we have here today in this video is somewhat of an update on two of the main guys that people have been talking about in these Red Wings talks. So the Red Wings pick 4th overall, we know that. We know that Byfield, Stützle, Lafreniere, according to consensus, are probably going to be the three guys gone by the time Detroit picks number 4. So, it's opened up a bigger discussion as to some of the other guys. We've spoken at length about Marco Rossi in the previous video. We also talked about Cole Perfetti in other videos. And we have seen people mention the names of guys like Lucas Raymond, maybe Askarov, as well as potential suitors for that spot. But in today's video, we're going over two of them here. The first two that we mentioned, Marco Rossi and Cole Perfetti, because recently we had some of the top prospects in the NHL Draft do some big interviews with the media on Zoom. And some of the very interesting information that we have pulled from these interviews can kind of be stringed together to form a narrative here. So it's kind of why we're talking about just these two guys, because when it comes to the Red Wings material, it's mostly these two guys who have popped up in that discussion. So let's get over onto Cole Perfetti and just go over what exactly his interview was like with the media on Zoom. Now, there are a few articles that we go over here in this video, so I'll leave a link in the description to all of them. But the first one over here on ProHockeyRumours.com goes over what exactly it was that Perfetti said in regards to what exactly he's looking for his next NHL home. And I will say this, it's a very, very bright head this guy has on his shoulders. A lot of coaches are stuck in their olden days. They're kind of chip pucks in and crash and bang, play hard, stuff like that, and you gotta play within a structure to a T. When you're with Chris Lazari, the head coach of the Saginaw Spirit, as long as you're within the structure, he gives you leeway to make plays and be your own player and have a brain and be creative and have fun out there. I think that's really what allowed me to thrive as a player and flourish. The big response is up here next. If I was under a head coach where I had to dump the puck in every time I go out there over the red line and get on the forecheck, it would be frustrating, and I wouldn't be able to express how I really am as a player. Now hold your horses right there. First off, Cole Perfetti as a player. Express who that is. I love that saying. If you know Cole Perfetti and what this guy is able to do, what his strengths are, and just how he has developed so far as a prospect, you know that what a lot of Cole Perfetti does that is so magical out there is his creative ability to play. They don't call him the genius out there for nothing. Cole Perfetti, while being behind Marco Rossi in the point totals in the OHL, was still one of the most highly creative playmakers and play drivers in the entire league. Even when this guy is in the defensive zone or the neutral zone, he does these light little passes that just find their ways over to open guys because he knows what to do and he knows how to anticipate play. Cole Perfetti being able to express himself as a player is Cole Perfetti being able to outsmart people, hold on to the puck, and find open space where there doesn't appear to be any. And that's Perfetti as a hockey player, which is why this whole, dump and chase, go after it, you have the puck, once you get at the red line, send it in and chase it on the forecheck, that is not his style, and he's very open about how he doesn't mesh with that kind of head coach. And I really like the maturity that he has there. But how exactly does this relate to the Red Wings? Well, let's go over an article here from Helene St. James on the Detroit Free Press, talking about how Cole Perfetti was indeed interviewed by the Red Wings a few times. He says this: "I've met a couple of times with the Red Wings over the break. With Mr. Yzerman, it's been limited. He's been on all the calls, but for the most part, he's had his camera off, and he's very quiet, just kind of listening and taking notes. He didn't really ask anything. I just tried to be myself, show my personality, and hopefully he enjoyed that and got a lot out of that. I hope I made a good impression." So, Cole Perfetti as a guy who a lot of people are saying is probably top 4, top 5 worthy, in fact is the guy who many people are pegging as the eventual Detroit Red Wings 4th overall pick, is being given the silent treatment over here by Yzerman. Now, a lot of people are speculating as to whether or not that's just Yzerman picking up traits from Stan Bowman on how to intimidate prospects or whatever. Some people were joking around saying, hey, maybe he's just playing the Xbox, he doesn't really care, that's kind of why he's on mute. But it's a very interesting idea to have here, where you have a guy who may be probably the guy who the majority of your fan base thinks you're going to take, and in the interview process, you kind of just sit back, you don't even really do anything, you just watch. It's kind of creepy, isn't it? Well, let's go over on to Marco Rossi now, because he has somewhat of a similar story to share, but we have ourselves a little bit of a different tidbit coming out of Rossi's situation that kind of steers the boat in his favor a little bit, at least according to what people are speculating. Here's an article over here from the Hockey Writers where they talk about what exactly was said by some of these prospects, and for the Marco Rossi section, let's just read this one out over here too. Rossi says that he's spoken with the Red Wings 3 times. The talks were good in his mind. Apparently, Yzerman was on the Zoom calls, but his camera was also shut off. Imagine what the prospects might be thinking knowing he's there, but you can't see him. So with Perfetti, it was apparently a couple of times. With Marco Rossi, it is 3 times. By definition verbatim, this means that Cole Perfetti met twice, Rossi once more. So there's another favorable trait here in this conversation as to Marco Rossi being the guy at number 4. But the biggest aspect that people are talking about isn't actually related to these draft interviews at all. It's related to Michael Rasmussen. Yeah, we're bringing this topic in here. This article here on Pro Hockey Rumours goes over what exactly is going on here, because they're talking about also how the Red Wings probably have keyed in on Rossi. Why? Here's why. The Red Wings loaned one of their top prospects in Michael Rasmussen to the Graz 99ers in Austria, the same team that Rossi is currently training with. Now, yeah, that indeed did happen. We have Michael Rasmussen, a Detroit guy, getting loaned over all the way to Austria, and a lot of people were saying, okay, what's the connection here? For Filip Zadina going to the Czech Republic and playing under his dad, who's the assistant coach, that makes sense. For Moritz Seider to go back to the Adler Mannheim in the DEL, and sure, play with Tim Stützle, it makes sense because he was on that team last year. But Michael Rasmussen and the 99ers? What in the world? There's no connection there. Check this out over here too. While other prospects have noted that talks with Yzerman have merely been him just listening in on video calls with his computer screen off, Rossi stated that he has had several good chats directly with Yzerman too. This is far from an absolute confirmation that the Wings would go with Rossi at 4, although there certainly is enough evidence to make a strong case. But honestly, man, you already know my opinion. We said in the previous video too, if it were up to me, regardless of the team, if you're thinking about number 4 and Rossi is available, I'm taking Rossi. So it's just very cool. I think it's very funny. I like how the overarching idea that we have been talking about and we have been seeing through the media kind of coincides. Because I know, over the past few weeks, we have had all the speculation in the world that it's going to be Cole Perfetti, a guy who played in Saginaw, which is just a few miles north from Detroit, talking about a prospect who is literally in the Red Wings' backyard. But you gotta remember, man, we've seen other prospects that the Red Wings could have taken actually be Detroit property, not actually get taken by Detroit. Quinn Hughes is the one that comes immediately to mind. He was supposed to be a top 5, top 6, top 7 draft pick, but then eventually he dropped, the Red Wings passed on him, and he went to Vancouver instead. But obviously, of course, this is all just merely speculation. Who knows? The Michael Rasmussen thing might not even be all too important. In fact, we also have a similar situation that we talked about in a previous video with Cole Perfetti too. Albin Greva, another Detroit Red Wings prospect from last year, is now going to be playing in Saginaw, most likely with Cole Perfetti. So that kind of circulated a little bit more discussion as to whether or not Perfetti could be the guy instead because of that connection there with Greva. But, of course, this reverse situation with Rossi and Rasmussen also kind of flips the script too. So that's all we got here today in the tank for Rossi and Perfetti. Which one will be taken by Detroit? In my opinion, it's leaning more towards Rossi, But obviously, we were having just the same discussion a week ago saying that it was going to be Perfetti. So these kinds of things can change, and we won't really know for sure until draft day. But for now, I want you to talk to me in the comments what you thought about this idea with Perfetti, with Rossi. Talk to me in the comments if you want Raymond or Askarov too, because I know that a whole bunch of people in the previous video spoke about that. And if that indeed is your want, how do these discussions here about Perfetti and Rossi change that? Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video. So that's Rossi 99, and bye.